future Trent here from Well-Don Tanks. So we are now back from our trip out to Colorado to see Mountaintop Puffer Keeper and his incredible fish room. And we brought home the Fahaka pufferfish, we brought home some rainbow cichlids. But as I'm starting to edit this video out, I want to give another big thank you to Matt and his family for having me out. It was such a fun trip. Unfortunately, on my way there, I got stuck behind a really bad accident on the interstate, and which delayed me about 4 hours. So my time with Matt and the time to interview and film his fish room was cut short. I was there for a lot less time than I really wanted to be, but I still hope that I was able to capture the essence of this fish room, the inspiration of this fish room. And you may hear some funny noises throughout the interview. I did my best to edit the audio so where they were not distracting. I have Tourette syndrome. You may hear some of my vocal tics coming through, and I say this only because I do not want it to detract from the information of this fish room, as Matt is a genius fish breeder. So guys, thank you for joining me. If you do enjoy this, hit the thumbs up and comment down below what your favorite part of this fish room tour was. So thank you, everybody. Without further ado, welcome to Mountaintop Puffer Keeper.
I'm Matt. I'm a Mountaintop Puffer Keeper. This is my fish room. We'll start off where it all basically started. It'll be the hairy puffer tank. Got into hairy puffers. I had one originally, and that one unfortunately passed. I really like the hairy puffers. I got that beard. I like a challenge, and people told me that you couldn't have more than one hairy puffer in a tank, which I'm sure some you probably can't have in a tank together, but I have three. I've had them for going on 3 years now. I believe it's 2 females and a male. I'm not sure. We see breeding behavior pretty regularly. I'm hoping for some eggs pretty soon here. And
did you buy them as adults or did you buy them as juveniles?
These
Or what you would
are-
call juveniles?
when I bought these, they were like the small Dixie cup size.
Okay, so fairly,
Fairly
we'd
small.
call it still juvenile-ish.
This bigger one that I have was bigger even then. Definitely filled out the Dixie cup. But about 2018 in the summer is when I got these guys. They've been in like 3 or 4 tanks now. Decent filtration, tons of plants, lots of subwasser tang, wood and rocks. They eat anything you put in there, really. All 3 have different personalities.
So what's the challenge of keeping, because like you said, everybody said you couldn't do 3 hairy puffers in one tank. Have you had specific challenges in keeping 3 in one tank?
I haven't. They'll blow up from time to time in display. They'll try to breed in a tank together. They never really bit each other. I did once feed them a silver side, and that was a little too big, and it's kind of like 2 dogs fighting over a bone. They kind of nipped each other. No damage done, harm no foul. They just kissed and made up, basically. Never had a fight. Didn't really chase each other too much, and they just sort of cohabitate. We got one on the left. Got 3 caves for them. They only go into the same cave when I think they're doing breeding behavior. So,
Which is pretty cool because we got to see some of that tonight.
Right.
We watched one of them come out. That was my first time seeing a puffer expand really to make themselves larger.
right.
So that was a unique sighting.
And then the one puffer that's in that cave won't let another one in there unless it wants to. It's the biggest one in the tank, and they were both in there, sort of shimmying all over each other. So,
Are these the first puffers you've kept?
I had one hairy puffer before. I've had a Fahaka puffer, but yeah, hairy puffer has pretty much got me hooked. Tried a Sholdente once, but these are the ones that I enjoy because everybody says you can't keep them together, and clearly you can keep them
You
together.
were obviously doing it
You
very,
can keep
very
3.
successfully too.
These 3 together, for sure. That's all that's in this tank, is just hairy puffers and a whole lot of personality. And over in this one, We're trying to do Dwarf Orinoco Pike cichlids. There's a lot of stuff in here.
So I know, because you have 2 types of pikes in your fishing, right?
So there's Regani, and that's a tank further behind me, which I've bred before, and I have fry. And we'll look at those 2 more tanks. These guys are a new project. I like the Regani, and these dwarf ones are a little bit smaller. I think they're a little bit more fighty. You can see them displaying on each other now. Oh, going in the same cave. Usually not a bad sign. They just hide it in the cave. They are cave spawners. If they're anything like the Regani, female will go in the cave and guard it. Male will patrol, and then they'll come out and walk them around.
What did you find? Because you've now bred Regani successfully.
Yes.
And we can maybe get in further detail down as we move down to that tank. When you get fry from pike cichlid,
Yep.
difficult to raise? Like, what's the process in raising those fry? Because people are going to think breeding any kind of dwarf pike in captivity, very difficult. So now you've done it, you get fry.
Right.
What's your process?
So, I've never done a pike before. I've been sort of keeping and raising fish since I was just a kid in Boston, allergic to dogs. Had live birds, sort of developed my own strain of platies when I was like 12 or so.
That's cool.
It was pretty cool.
That is really cool.
Me and my dad would like go to the fish store, listen to UB40, get all kinds of cool fish, and just mess with them and try to keep them, try to raise them, try to breed them. I think that's the real challenge. Any fish is going to be happiest when it's breeding, in my opinion. If you can do that challenge, it's sort of rewarding. And really, it's like Christmas when you come down to this fish room and you see a cloud of fry going around with their cichlid parents. So the pikes especially will patrol them around, let them feed, and let you see them. They go back into the cave at night to bed down. I do like the cichlids a lot. Pretty much everything in this tank I'm trying to breed. A lot of plants is something that I do. I think it helps a ton with filtration, helps a lot with survivability, like eggs and fry.
So on the plant side, you have duckweed in your tanks.
I do.
Which people hate. It's their nemesis. But you had an interesting point, though, with having duckweed in your tank.
Right. So for me, it's an indicator of the health of the system too, because that duckweed is going to grow larger based on the nutrients that it's feeding off of in the water column. So you have a lot of ammonia, you have a lot of duckweed, and you don't have a lot of ammonia. So what I do, I just scoop it out when it gets too big and leave it in there.
So visual representation of the overall health of the tank, but then a cheap filtration aspect to your tank as well.
I think so, and it looks good too, I feel like. A little subdued lighting, gives like shadows. Fish feel safer, I think, a little more secure.
Well, I think it's working on your puffers, because watching them hanging out in the cave, but you have the duckweed layer on top, puffers hanging in their cave. For hairy puffers, I'd say your puffers are fairly active for how long I've been here watching them.
Yeah, they swim around all day. When they see somebody coming to the room, they'll poke their head out, see if they're getting fed, see what's on the menu today, if anything. One of them will beg it, basically like a dog at the top, looking for food. Also in here is a colony of dwarf chain loaches, which are definitely spawning. And I'm going to try to maybe pull some out and then do a separate tank and get some eggs and try to raise those up. I feel like loaches would be a pretty good challenge too.
How do you know? Because you've never had eggs from them, but you say you've seen them spawning.
I would say I have.
Is it behavior?
I would say I have had eggs.
Okay.
That I haven't seen, just based off of the behavior, because I would say the females are a lot more plumper, a little bit bigger. Males are a little skinnier, and they'll be dancing around, flashing, changing colors up in the water column. And in my limited experience, that's spawning behavior.
I think you've got a lot of experience and can definitely make an argument for that.
So I'm pretty sure that's what they're doing. I just need to get them out of there and into some place where I can get the eggs, because there's a lot of fish in here that are going to eat fish eggs. And then got a new project in this tank down here.
Which was, so I have to thank Matt. He told me about this project is when I got here, but saved it until I got here. And I think this is going to be an awesome one.
So, and this tank is a colony of African butterfly fish, which, based on my readings, they'll spawn sort of mid-water, good food, good size, a mixed group in a big enough tank. They'll spawn, the eggs will float. You can take the eggs out and raise them up. And the challenge is raising up the fry until they develop their finnage, and then they can swim around a little better. Basically, the live food has to hit them in the mouth for them to eat at that size. There'll be a lot of cannibalism between them as they grow. So hopefully I can get a good group up of captive raised African butterfly fish.
Because you were telling me after they spawn, collect the eggs, that it wasn't like 2 weeks until the fins on the fry actually develop.
That's my understanding.
Okay.
Hopefully we'll find that out.
Because that's fascinating to me.
That's a long time to have them getting hit by food in the mouth.
Do you have a plan of? Cause that's a very specific target feeding. I feel like. Do you plan on doing live baby brine? Is it infusoria?
I think I'd try to do live baby brine a little bit, but probably Daphnia, just because it would like live a little bit longer in the water for.
That makes sense.
Maybe in a like smaller 10, 15-gallon tank, something like that.
So a live food that
level.
swims around that could potentially bump into the fish that are on their own.
Lower water level. I almost think maybe a breeder basket would be the best for that.
Do you have your tank set up in a specific way for the African butterfly fish? Do you feel that it's going to help them spawn?
Really, I set these all up in the same way, which is heavily planted to the extent that the plants take off. Put a lot of plants in there. Some plants die, some plants thrive, and I just sort of let it balance itself out.
Do you do any kind of nutrient dosing or anything?
I do the aquarium co-op.
Is it the easy green?
Easy green.
It's good stuff. I've used it
Every week.
Because your plants are robust. Everything is very healthy. I mean, your washer tank over here is absolutely taking off.
Right.
I'm super jealous of that.
That's been sitting there for a couple of years now. So
Is that how long it takes to grow that
I
much?
think so, yeah. There's a lot of puffer nutrients in that tank too, helping it grow. Yeah, for the butterflies, just floating. So what I did is I cut some of the water sprite, let that float around. Got Amazon frog bit, a little bit of duckweed. They seem to be doing pretty good, eating everything they get their hands on.
I'm excited for this project. I'm fascinated, and I hope you're successful at it, because your take on how you look at spawning fish, how you look at the behavior of your fish, is something that I feel people miss in their hobby. You don't just fish are happy. No, if fish are happy, they're gonna spawn,
Right.
and that's, I think, your skill set at this is you seek to make your fish happy so they will spawn, not just I'm gonna spawn these fish.
Yeah, that's my theory. Just full life cycle. You learn a lot more, I think. I learn a lot more from getting fry and starting to raise them up and try to get them to adult fish.
I know you're going to be asked to. You're not using any kind of RO water in your tanks? Is it just tap water?
It's just tap water. I run it through a Python hose, and I have like a RV inline carbon filter, just for a little extra insurance.
Any problems with the inline RV filter? Because
No.
I've seen people use them before, but I've seen also the both the good and the bad reviews of, is it harmful to the fish? Is it good for the fish? Does it act? Because it's just carbon, isn't it?
I haven't seen it be harmful to these fish.
That's a very good point.
Right.
I guess you have fish that would be sensitive to it that aren't and are doing very well.
Been doing it 4 years now with that filter. I just figure it takes a little bit less of the possible contaminants out. I don't think I really need it, but I kind of like to have the insurance. And over here are some fry. So these are the Regani pike that I bred in January.
So these are all one batch?
There's one batch.
Okay.
There's a portion of one batch that I kept. So I'm growing them up here. It'd be kind of nice to get them to adulthood and trade them out maybe. Maybe trade some of these out.
Do you have a time? How long did it take you? So they bred, see, 1st of January?
1st of January, I saw the cloud of fry in this tank of the fish room actually.
And now we're, what, end of May?
End of May.
So that's
5 months and some change.
okay.
Well, 5 months.
How long? They're not to adulthood yet. They're not adults yet. Then correct?
I wouldn't think so. And there's definitely like a pretty wide variation in size. And they've all been together for the whole time, eating the same foods, same temperature.
You notice any predation amongst them? Because I mean, some are obviously bigger than others. So I'm curious if you've seen any issues with larger ones picking off smaller ones.
I haven't.
Okay.
And drop food in there, and it's just essentially a feeding bowl. All they do is eat, and then once they're done eating, they just sort of calm down and hang out down there.
Would you say this is your greatest accomplishment in your breeding career, or is there?
I'd say the next one.
Okay.
The next one's the greatest.
But this one's
So
still
far,
pretty cool.
This is the coolest one.
Because you're the first person I know people have done it, but it's getting that information back to me. If you're the first person I know that has successfully bred dwarf Regani pike in captivity.
It was very cool. Which I think has something to do with our altitude. As we're at 9,100 feet. And I know I've read storm fronts encourage fish to breed. And to me, our altitude is a lower pressure, and maybe that helps them be sort of on all the time and helps you hit those conditions a little bit better.
Because I know driving here, because I came from Salt Lake where I already feel like I was
Right.
higher elevation, but you kept, teasing me of just wait. And when I was driving here, I could not believe the elevation gain I had getting here.
It's up here, sure.
I mean, I would literally say your fish room's on top of a mountain, and it's awesome.
Right, we're like 1,500 feet above the city above the clouds. That's what they call Woodland Park, the city above the clouds.
And you're still 1,500
It's
feet
like
above
1,500 feet above that.
That's
Something
awesome.
like that. Yeah.
And then that's where, and you go by what on YouTube? What's your channel? Right? You have a name, your channel name. You don't run a channel, but you still have your subscriber name on YouTube.
I do. I kind of post a couple videos of the puffers every once in a while. if
Okay,
anything
so you do
cool
have some
happens.
stuff up there.
Yeah, no talking, just videos, silent. But mountaintop puffer keeper.
Which makes sense. Top of the mountain, you keep them puffers.
Trying to get those hairy puffers. I think we're close based on what was happening earlier today. And this is my new sort of experiment, sort of third iteration.
I think it's
of
absolute
this.
genius. And this is honestly something I may integrate into my next fish room.
I think so far so good. Working for me. So I've seen the racks with like the polycarbonate. They call them zebrafish tanks. I actually like tracked down the company that makes those. I got a couple sort of secondhand market, if you will. Those are pretty small, but then they thought polycarbonate, if it works for a lab setting with zebra danios, I could work in a bigger tank for me. So what I did was I got these for the larger polycarbonate tanks, basically restaurant supply. We got the fittings, drilled them out, and this is basically it's two separate systems. There's the right side system and the left side system. I can turn it off, make 6 individual tanks. I also have the ability to do another row. It's basically a constant overflow sump system, feeds into the bottom and pumps itself back up to the top.
So the back of each tank
Right.
is drilled the bulkhead.
Got a bulkhead. Hose goes down to the larger wastewater pipe that feeds back down in the bottom of the tank. Smaller PVC is attached to the pond pump. Circulates the water all the way through. Shoots it out into each tank. Overflows through the bulkhead. Just a continuous loop. It does get a little cold up here, even like room temperature. I don't know if that's an altitude thing or what. So I do have a heater in each of the bottom tanks just to keep them. This side of the rack's about 72. Other side of the rack's 76-ish.
And then you said you could shut off. So right now you have 3 connected, where you
Right.
could kill the water, shut off the return pump, and make them 6 individual tanks.
Right, because they all have heaters in them. They all have filters in them. The bottom has a heater. So really, they're 3 separate tanks that are sharing all their water volume, just to keep the temperature a little more stable for me.
One of your loaches is out. Sorry, I'm admiring.
There you go. This top tank, and try to breed out these panda loaches. That's all that's in there right now. I'm just growing them out, feeding them some good rapashi food, and
They're all right. Yeah, I just saw another one too.
right,
So you put some rapashi in earlier. Oh, there he is. He's out hanging around.
a little bit of super green, that new one that they got out.
These are super pretty loaches. They're super pretty fish.
Little zucchini ones, and they're changing to adult coloration. Black and white is way more pronounced when they're smaller. They're pretty cool looking when they're little. They're still cool looking the whole time. Getting ready to fight each other, I think.
Which is hopefully breeding behavior, right?
Yeah, that could be too. You know?
What we're gonna call it.
And the top one pretty much empty right now. And down here on the left side middle tank is the Bolivian rams, and they essentially paired up within 5 days of me getting them, and have since bred. We got their first batch of fry. I had to catch out all the other rams out of there and move them out. But to me, I think that's also an indicator of how the lower pressure up here sort of helps. They laid their eggs on the back of a coconut hut. There's other fish in there, is my theory, and that was just the easiest spot in the tank to defend their eggs and then their fry.
Have you noticed different behaviors when they're defending? Because we talked about the Reganis, they
Right.
herded the fry around.
Right. and
Have you
then-
seen the Bolivians do that at all?
So they do, but you can even see right now they face separate directions and they try to keep the fry in between them. Like one's looking at the 12 o'clock, one's looking at the 6 o'clock. For any kind of threat that might happen. And once one takes off, the other one sort of has more awareness of the fry ball, I've noticed, which you won't really see now, but I guess they sense something was up. Turn around. But
Probably a camera getting shoved in their face trying to
Right.
check everything out.
thinking about taking them to the bedroom, go to sleep, I guess.
This is another one that we've. Did you? Because Bolivia, I'm saying, German blues,
Right.
probably the most popular ram.
Right?
Did you choose Bolivians because they're not as popular, or because you don't hear of people breeding them as much?
It would be a sort of an interesting one to try out, and I thought I could do it in a lower temperature mostly, and I didn't want to really try to run a super hot tank.
That makes sense.
These are like between 74 and 76 is what they bred out. Just regular water, nothing crazy. Regular food. They're just eating like krill freight and fiber bites, a little bit of all these foods here is what I'm pretty much feeding right now.
Do you have a see now that you've shown off your food collection,
Right.
you're gonna get asked what's your favorite?
I like to feed a little bit of everything, and I like to do the smaller containers as much as possible.
Is that to keep the food as fresh as possible?
Yeah, so I'd rather get 2 small ones and open one instead of 1 big one and have it open for twice as long, basically.
I think that's the best way anyone has ever put that.
I like fresher food.
That
myself.
makes so much sense.
Like, I'd rather eat that pizza tonight than a week and a half from now or 2 weeks from now. It's not as fresh. Bottom down here is another project we're working on. So, in there's a lot of mostly deader fish for those African butterfly cichlids with the stripes. They do seem to be defending territory, and to me, those 2 with the stripes are a pair based off of how they're chasing off other fish. And that's really just happened in the past 6 hours, I'd say, give or take.
So this is fairly recent behavior then.
Yeah, this is today. I have a feeling that they maybe might have laid in that.
Oh, I guess they are protecting the clump of moss, aren't they?
I definitely noticed it earlier. I try to look at them every day. I did change a little bit of water today. But you can tell there's other ones in there that don't have those stripes. I never bred those, but I would imagine that those are breeding colors for that cichlid. I don't know if they're big enough or not.
But he's right. As we are, I wish I had a different lens on because we're literally watching this clump of moss right here. There's literally 2 cichlids in that are chasing everyone else away from that.
So maybe we got some of them coming up here in the near future.
That's cool. That's cool to see. This is one thing I've enjoyed talking with you about your fish, your fish room, is you notice the behavior of your fish. Not just if they've bred, but the actual overall behavior of all your fish. And that's fascinating to me. That's something I'm taking away from this tour for sure is I need to focus on the behavior of my fish, not just keeping my fish.
Yeah, and it definitely changes. I don't know, makes it more interesting for me. I think I enjoy them better that way. It's just fun to see them pair off and kind of do their fish thing, live their fish life. And then doesn't work out. Doesn't work out. I'm gonna try though. Try to give them like the best conditions possible, good food, a lot of variety of food, and see what happens mostly. And try to do stuff other people say can't be done. It's sort of like my side challenge. Oh, there you go. And then this is the last tank here. We got the Fahaka puffer, big old food belly there.
Which, if you guys don't know, and if I'm okay to say this, I have to thank Matt that after I lost my Mabu puffer, Matt reached out to me, and this is part of my reason for coming out is we are taking the Fahaka home with us. So Matt has generously, very generously offered us the Fahaka, and I cannot thank you enough for that.
I was just watching it for you for a while is all.
I'm so excited to have the puffer back again.
It's going to get huge pretty quick. It's got a nice appetite. As you can see, for the most part, there's a lot of cherry shrimp in there that don't really get messed with. That wasn't always the case, but it is the case now. Variatus platies are all over the tank. Those are Super cool.
Your females, I can't get over the females that have the black, the solid black stripe down. I don't know how else to put it. It's not quite blotching, but there's definitely some solid black down them.
They're definitely the coolest platy I've ever had, and they can go a little colder too. You don't have to run your heater quite so hot. Sort of benefit up here. Also in there are the black chin live bears.
I wonder if I need to catch some B-roll of those guys. Because you have a male in here that had the full black, there he is.
They're all getting, it almost looks like fake, like someone dipped them in ink.
I'll have to see if I can get a better B-roll of that guy. Because there he's coming around again, because he's right. It's so, it is jet
So
black
cool.
down him. Oh, the platies want to come say hi. I'll see if I
wants
can't
a
get some
picture
footage of him. Because it's just really cool, really unique seeing the solid black chin down the belly of the fish.
And then there's one random white cloud in there,
Hanging out doing its thing.
hanging out doing his thing.
So what plants are you have in the tank? Because this is
I
beautiful.
have no idea, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I just get plants, essentially. A little bit of everything, throw it in there, see what takes off. And whatever takes off, and whatever doesn't, doesn't. I think that's tiger lotus, maybe.
Do you focus on any specific substrate, or is it just that concept of if it's going to thrive, it's going to thrive?
All of my tanks are primarily pool filter sand.
My favorite substrate.
And I have
I think it's awesome.
I gotta try that blasting sand, the black stuff, but
The new tank I set up with the black blasting sand.
yeah.
I'm not a fan of the grit.
I don't even know what that giant plant is right there, but I know I've had it since 2018 or so.
It looks like a sword plant, but it is huge. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
I don't know what it is, but if anybody knows. So I think there's like dwarf chain sword, and some crypts, a couple different kinds of crypts. Yeah, I don't know. I just put them all in there and see what happens. Pretty much.
What's your?
Pogostemin.
Oh, I love
That's
my
everywhere.
love my pogostemin. That's one of my favorite plants to grow because I can grow it.
Yeah.
What would you say? What's your greatest accomplishment here in your fish room? Because we've talked the design structure,
Right.
which I hope somebody takes away from that you've shown you can do so many things. But what would you say is your greatest accomplishment in your fish room? What are you proud of? Besides, obviously, everything, obviously.
I'd say every fish that I can keep happy and healthy enough to reproduce is a equally great accomplishment. I think they're all cool. Like clearly the platies in this tank are happy, and the black chin livebearers are happy. We got those rams, seem pretty happy.
That is a cool thing. Matt messaged me. How long has it been? A week now? 2?
Yeah, I was like, I think so.
Because you text me saying the rams just laid.
Yeah.
Hopefully they're around when they get up here.
Well, because you hear rams eat their spawn or eat their fry, or if get too stressed out, they'll eat their whatever. Which these two, that didn't happen. That's, as far as I can tell, their first spawn, because I really just got them not too long ago. Just fed them real good on krill flake and frozen bloodworms, frozen tube effects. Just try to rotate as many foods as I can through. Even give them the big fella pellets from Extreme. Let them work at it for a while and just sort of
That's smart.
kick it around like a beach ball.
I like to do the sinking wafers.
Yep.
I do the same concept with the sinking wafers.
Yeah, they all seem pretty happy.
Anything else you want to share, show, talk about?
I think that we get the flagfish down there. Working the flagfish. I've bred those before here. And when I did breed them, they
Oh, it's ran away from me.
bred them in like a 20-gallon a couple years ago. And in my opinion, they laid under a sponge filter and defended the nest like a cichlid.
Okay, interesting.
Tried to do an outdoor tub, didn't quite work out.
Weather related?
Yeah. Just because we're pretty close to the sun up here. It gets real hot real fast.
Oh, I didn't think about that. I was thinking honestly the coolness of the weather, but that makes sense. Higher altitude, closer, that makes a lot of sense.
There's a black tub. It's not a great idea because we get pretty hot in the day and really cold at night. So it didn't quite work out, but might try it again in the future. I think that's the whole fish room.
Well, Matt, I want to thank you for allowing me to come out here. This was well worth the drive.
Yep.
I mean, again, I want to your concept of using the polycarbonate totes, it was genius.
I mean,
And
so
then-
far it's working out. I don't know if
I think it's working out really
I don't know if it'll work out
well.
long term, but so far so good.
And then, honestly, being able to see your hairy puffers, watch that behavior, know if you're working on African butterfly fish, sending me home with another puffer fish.
Yep.
I cannot thank you enough for having me out here. And I'm. It's too bad my time was cut short. The drive out here was a rough one, but it's. I hope
Worth it.
Very worth it. This was very worth it. I'm so happy I got to be here to witness this because you've been a great support to me on the channel. Yep. Everybody knows who you are. Well, now everybody knows who you are.
There you go.
So guys, when you see Matt in the chat, Mountaintop Puffer Keeper.
I guess we could show the those lights, so you can grow plants with just regular, just LED shop lights from like whatever big box store you want to go to. Just plug in. Grows plenty of plants.
This is your final secret you're sharing?
Yeah, I just hooked it up to just a timer. Cost a timer.
I love those things.
Right?
Love those things. Yeah, I'm using a T5 LED, so it's just a different variation, but I would say these are growing plants better than mine can. But overall, thank you
Glad you had.
very much. This was a great trip, and when the puffers breed, I think I'll have to come back out.
That'd be cool.
That would be awesome to see. So guys, if you have any questions for Matt, please leave them down in the comment section below. I'll do my best to relay them to him. But guys, give Matt a huge thanks. Hopefully you learned something. I know I did. And we'll catch you guys in the next video.
Thanks.
Thanks, Matt. So we are 3 hours late getting here due to the accident that we got stuck in coming here. But like literally, we are on top of a mountain here in Colorado, and I'm hoping I have enough light to fly my drone to show you where we are at, because we are coming in hot to check out Matt's fish room. And this has been a trip I've been waiting for over almost 2 months now, so I'm really glad we're out here. It's unfortunate that I got stuck when I did, but we are coming up on his house here shortly. But like, yeah, we are on top of a mountain, and this is one of the most beautiful areas I've ever been in. Like, we are on dirt road right now getting to his house, so it should be a good time.